There's something about a wood slat accent wall that immediately changes the atmosphere of a room. It doesn't just decorate the space, it transforms it. A flat, forgettable wall suddenly gains rhythm. A lifeless corner becomes a statement. The room becomes warmer, deeper, more architectural. And all of this is done not with paint, not with wallpaper, not with bold color, but with the simple, repeated vertical lines of real wood. The appeal of a slat wall doesn't rely on complexity. In fact, its beauty comes from repetition, evenly spaced vertical slats, often narrow, each one just slightly offset from its neighbor, running from floor to ceiling or across a wide horizontal span. It's a visual language that's rhythmic but not loud, detailed but not busy. It turns the surface of a wall into something textured, something you feel with your eyes first and your fingertips later. It draws you in slowly, in layers, without ever trying to dominate the room. There's also a strange paradox at play. Slat walls are clean and minimal, but they don't feel cold. That's because wood, in any form, carries a kind of natural warmth. The grain, even when subtle, softens the precision of the lines. Whether the slats are stained dark or left in raw oak or ash, the natural texture of the wood breaks up the uniformity. It gives the wall movement, like ripples in a quiet body of water. Even when perfectly machined and installed with laser precision, the human eye still picks up the variation. No two slats are ever truly identical. That variation is what makes the wall feel alive. Some wood slat accent walls lean into contrast. Dark wood against a pale painted wall. Blonde slats on a matte black background. Others aim for subtlety, wood on wood, or slats painted in a tone just a few shades off from the surrounding surface. Either way, the effect is more than decorative. The slats play with shadow, catching light in different ways depending on the time of day. In bright rooms, morning sunlight slices between the slats, creating a soft flickering effect across the wall. At night, under warm artificial light, the vertical lines create shadows that shift gently with the glow. It's not flashy. It's not trying to impress. But you notice it. You feel it. Beyond the aesthetic, slat walls can do something more functional. They shape the acoustics of a space. A flat drywall surface reflects sound in a sharp, sometimes uncomfortable way. Wood slats, especially when backed with felt or spaced slightly from the wall, help absorb and diffuse sound. It's why they are often used in studios and restaurants. But even in a home, the effect is noticeable. A living room with a slat wall feels quieter, softer. Voices don't bounce off the walls. The room sounds more intimate, more grounded, and it doesn't have to stop at the wall. Some designs carry the slats across the ceiling, turning corners with seamless precision, wrapping the room in texture. Others tuck hidden lighting behind the vertical lines, creating a soft glow that spills between the gaps, not direct, not bright, but atmospheric. It's this kind of integration that elevates the slat wall from a trend to something timeless. Installation can vary. Some slats are mounted individually, spaced by hand, creating perfect rhythm one piece at a time. Others come in pre-made panels, faster to install but still carrying that same layered effect. Some use wider boards, a bit chunkier and more rustic. Others go thin and refined, like delicate reeds standing in a row. The choice depends on the room, on the mood you're building. Wide slats make a bold statement, calm but strong. Thin slats feel refined, even a bit sculptural, especially when paired with modern furniture or minimalist decor. What's interesting is how slat walls can work in both modern and traditional interiors. In a clean, modern space, they add warmth and human touch. In a rustic or industrial setting, they bring a sense of order and refinement. In bedrooms, they often rise up behind the bed, replacing the need for a headboard, framing the space where rest happens. In living rooms, they turn blank walls into focal points. In entryways, they welcome you with structure and softness at once. Even in small apartments, a slat wall can divide space without closing it off, letting light and air move through while giving shape to the room. And the material choices open even more character. Oak is clean and versatile. Walnut is rich and moody. Pine has knots and personality. Reclaimed wood brings its own story, each slat holding scars and stains from its past life. A nail hole here, a bane mark there, each one with a bit of history embedded in its grain. Even painted slats, though less natural, can give a room that same structured softness, especially when they are contrasted with smooth walls or hard surfaces like concrete or glass. Over time, the wood slats age, not in a way that feels worn out, but in a way that adds depth. The edges soften, the finish deepens, the surface becomes something you want to reach out and touch. And that's the thing with a wood slat wall. It's not just visual, it's tactile. It's about the way light slides along the grain, the way shadows fall between the gaps, the way your fingers might trail across the surface without thinking, just because the texture pulls you in. It also reminds us of how simplicity can still be rich. A single material, repeated with care, aligned with precision, can do more than layers of decoration or furniture. It can shift the feeling of a room completely. It can turn something generic into something personal. It doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. In a world full of distractions and noise, wood slat accent walls offer something quieter, a moment of rhythm, of texture, of material honesty. And maybe that's why they've become more than just a trend. They offer structure without coldness, decoration without clutter, and beauty without trying too hard. They don't ask for attention, but once they are there, the room feels more complete, like the space has finally remembered what it was meant to be. A wood slat accent wall starts not as art but as architecture. A field of narrow boards running parallel, spaced with precision, each one a thin ribbon of warmth against a backdrop of plaster or concrete. You could paint a wall 1,000 colors, hang a dozen pictures, or drape it in fabric, but none of that brings the gentle tension you get from repeating lines of wood. Slats catch the light at different angles, casting soft shadows between each board, creating movement and stillness. They bring depth without bulk, texture without clutter, presence without noise. Imagine stepping into a room with one simple wall clad in evenly spaced vertical slats of light oak. At first glance it feels minimal, almost spare. But as your eyes settle, you begin to see the play of light across the grain, glints of pale gold in the morning sun, deeper amber as the day moves on, subtle ribbons of shadow pooling between the boards. By evening, under warm incandescent or soft LED uplighting, the slats glow gently, their edges melting into darkness, and the space morphs from a functional room into a sanctuary of calm. Different woods tell different stories. Pale maple makes a wall feel open and airy, almost Scandinavian in its clarity. White ash brings a hint of gray that can read modern and refined. Warm oak carries centuries of use in its grain, earthy, solid, familiar. Darker species like walnut or black-stained poplar turn a slat wall into a moody backdrop, nearly sculptural against light-colored furniture. Reclaimed wood, with its knots and nail holes, adds a layer of history. Every sky becomes a feature, every variation in color a reminder that the material was alive long before it became decor. The spacing of the slats matters as much as the wood itself. Tight gaps, 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch, make the surface read almost continuous, a subtle striation that whispers texture rather than shouting it. Wider gaps emphasize rhythm, the negative space acting as punctuation between each slat. Some designers even vary the spacing in a pattern, doubling the gap every few boards to create a hidden code in the wall, a beat you only notice when you look for it. But more often, uniform spacing is the key. It says precision without feeling clinical. Installation is straightforward, but the precision is unforgiving. A level line here, a slight warp there, and the rhythm breaks. It requires careful measurement, consistent nailing or gluing, and a commitment to straight sightlines from floor to ceiling. Some builders mount a backing panel for the slats to rise from, ensuring an entirely flat base. Others affix each board directly to the studs, trusting in their carpentry skills to keep everything true. Either way, the goal is the same. Create a surface that looks like it was carved out of the wall itself, not tacked on afterward. Lighting transforms a slat wall from static to dynamic. Recessed LEDs hidden behind the boards throw lines of light along the edges, making the slats seem to float. Spotlights angled across the wall bring out the texture even more, the grain standing as ridges in the glow. Backlighting, where the entire wall is lit from behind, turns the gaps into glowing lines, a modern take on vaulted screens. And at night, those same slats can become the room's softest illumination, the wood's warmth glowing against the darkened space. Slat walls fit everywhere. In a minimalist living room, they anchor a sofa without demanding a TV. In a bedroom, they become a headboard twice your height, rising like a forest behind your pillows. In a dining area, they accentuate the table's long lines. In a hallway, they guide you down the corridor, a path of timber calling you forward. Even in a small powder room, a single slatted panel behind the sink can make the space feel boutique rather than utilitarian. The secret is scale. Slat walls don't have to cover an entire room to make an impact. Sometimes a framed section, 2 feet wide, is all it takes. Maintenance is simple. Dust clings in the grooves, but a soft brush or vacuum attachment sweeps it away. The matte finish holds up to the occasional wipe with a damp cloth. Unlike painted walls that show every fingerprint or scratch, slat walls age with dignity. Minor dents and dings only add to the character. In high-traffic areas, a few slats can be swapped out easily if they ever get too worn. But most survive decades, evolving in color and patina, telling the story of the home as it lives around them. And it's not just aesthetic. Slat walls can be acoustic heroes. The grooves trap and diffuse sound, making a lively living area feel more intimate. A music studio under one of these walls gains warmth and clarity. In an open-plan office or apartment, slats help disarm echoes, making voices and instruments sound natural rather than hollow. It's a functional note in the design's quiet harmony. When the day winds down and the room falls quiet, a wood slat accent wall holds the light of the space like a soft echo. The shadows grow deeper, the highlights more muted, and yet the surface doesn't vanish. It holds its ground, guiding the eye upward or across, reminding you of its lines and its grain. In that silence, you realize this wall isn't just background. It's a partner in the room's mood, as essential as the floor beneath your feet and the ceiling above your head. And when the lights finally dim, leaving only a warm glow behind the slats, the room breathes differently. The wood surface, with its repeating ribbons, seems to settle into darkness, each board holding the glow at its edge like embers in a fire that's gone to sleep. The space is no longer just a living room or hallway or study. It's a refuge woven from quiet lines of timber, a testament to restraint and rhythm. In that moment, the slat wall proves itself not as decoration, but as the whispered heartbeat of the space, steady, calm, and alive.